This is Annalise Jarvis. This is Ajay Sczepkowski. Last year they won their sport's highest award, and recently they sat down to discuss the DNA of the Player of the Year.
Hey AJ, welcome to episode 2. I want to know a little bit about you as a player. And I know you talked a little bit in episode 1 about being the best version of yourself. And so kind of walk me through that. What is it like being the best version of yourself for this team?
The best version of myself for this team would be a servant leader and being consistent. I think the one trait that any player on this team can have that will make them successful no matter their role is being a servant leader, just guiding others to help them be successful and getting the best versions of not only yourself but the people around you to come out.
Yeah. So what's your responsibility as a teammate, being that servant leader?
My responsibility would be to hold a high standard for everyone. Sometimes it's not the easy conversations that get talked about, but you have to have those conversations with players or even coaches sometimes to be able to work through those problems and those internal miscues. But being able to have people that you trust and love so much that you know they're saying something from the bottom of their heart that might not sound too pleasing, but they're doing it because they love you to try to get the best version of yourself out. I think that's a key factor of what great teams have.
Yeah. Okay, so you did something this season that is almost impossible and not been done very few times in college baseball before. It's called a 30-30 season. So tell me what that is and how you got there. Kind of what's the mindset behind doing that?
So that's when you eat 30 donuts and drink 30 coffees in one game.
Congratulations.
It's not easy, but so yeah, that's something that I never even thought could have been possible before the season. Didn't know any statistics behind that. I know we have some great people up in the GDM booth that kind of put it in your ear. And
that know a lot more than we do, for sure.
More stats, but yeah, so it's a really cool accolade to look back on. I think about halfway through the season, I kind of realized that something like that could have been possible, but it's one of those things that you try not to think about, trying to get back to just your consistent lifestyle and your consistency on the field and putting those kind of stressors in the past and not letting them affect how you've been playing on the field and who you want to be to your teammates. And
so I'll let you brag on yourself for a second. So the 30-30 season, 30 home runs and 30 stolen bases in a single season. That was the accomplishment reached, but what did you end at?
33 home runs and 36 stolen bases.
Okay, awesome. So when you talk about records, you seem to know that number very fast. Are you dialed into records? And then do you follow leaders, stat category leaders throughout the season?
I wouldn't say I'm super into records. That's more of it's cool knowledge to know. I'm not. I wouldn't say I sit there and am fascinated by them to try and break them. But they're definitely. I am a big statistic guy. I like looking at numbers and knowing where I'm at throughout the season because I feel like that helps me see and understand the places where I'm struggling and try to get better in those areas.
Okay, so you talked about lots of home runs and lots of stolen bases and lots of records, lots of numbers. What is the pressure that comes behind that as an athlete? And how do you mentally prepare for that kind of stress?
I would say pressure is a privilege. Not everyone gets to live underneath that umbrella of I'm going out here with a bunch of eyeballs on me today to go and compete against kids that are very good at their sport that they're playing. But to be able to go out there and have that pressure and kind of be able to use it to your advantage, being able to slow your heart rate down and dig into that moment and just kind of get into that zone, it definitely helps you become a better player, and competing against better players pushes you to become even better.
All right, so you mentioned the zone. So describe what it feels like physically to be in the zone, and then what do you have to do to get in it?
To be in the zone for me is eliminating external factors. You can't really control the rain, the umpires, the crowd yelling at you. So for me, when I know I'm in the zone, it just kind of goes blank. You don't have thoughts running rampant in your head.
When you're in the zone as a hitter, do you still think a lot? Because I think a lot of feelings for softball and baseball players, a lot of where you trip up is because you overthink. So how do you prevent from overthinking if you do?
Yeah, overthinking is definitely something that a lot of players struggle with, I believe. We do something called mindfulness every day. That's just basically breathing training and working on controlling your thoughts and controlling your heart rate and controlling your breath. So before I'm going up to the plate, every pitch, I take 2 deep breaths in between them just to kind of reset and feel that clarity in my head to try to get rid of all those thoughts. Like if I just swung through a hanging breaking ball that I knew I probably should have put on the Collins Hill, you can't think about that going into that next pitch. So you got to breathe to let that thought go, let that thought pass by, and then get back into this next pitch and try to win that pitch instead of thinking about the one that just passed.
Yeah, I liked how you said that you guys practice breathing training. I think that's really interesting, but I think that's super important. And so tell me a little bit more about how your coaches in GGC develop you to become the best player in the country.
Yeah, so that's definitely a big part of it is that mindfulness training. Just being able to separate yourself from your thoughts while you're on the field, not only when you're on the field, but in interviews like this, where if you need to go be calm and collected and go collect your thoughts for a second, you always have that deep breath to go back to, breathing in, breathing out, and just flushing and resetting. But Sheets has done a very good job of creating a culture in this program that thrives around good students, good players, and great people. And he pushes you to be a better person every single day, which translates to the field in a lot of different assets or ways.
I like how you use the word culture, because I think in a lot of different players' transfer journeys, especially if they've transferred multiple times, seeking a good team culture, I think, is what's so important. So explain a little bit about what the culture is like on this team.
The culture on this team is a bunch of, I shouldn't even say bunch of, 34 tough, hard-nosed dudes that are going out there and competing every single day. We talk about the faceless opponent a lot. It never comes back to the team you're playing across the way. It always comes back to the guys in your dugout and being the best version of yourself in that dugout for your team. The energy on this team is something I've never been a part of. This is the most fun, most energetic team that I've ever played with, and it makes you want to go out there and not perform for stats or for yourself, but go out there and perform your best for the people in that dugout and the people in the field with you, because you know those are your brothers and they care for you so much that it means more to you to perform well for them than it does for you to perform well for yourself.
Okay, so take me back to last year. What was the mentality preseason, knowing what you know now? What was that mentality like?
The mentality was try to be as consistent as I can every single day for this team, no matter what that role is. And I found my role as a big hitter for this team and found myself in left field every day and knew that I needed to show up and be the best person in those 2 positions that I could for this team. I think that mentality goes back to show just how this program pushes you to be a better person, not only a better player. And when you can find those roles within the team and have that modita and care more about the people next to you than what you're doing or your stats, I think that makes you a better baseball player. And that's kind of what this entire team has done throughout that last year and this year.
Did you find it hard last season preparing yourself to have quite literally the best season of baseball you've ever played in your life, but also at the same time, like, learning how to be a Grizzly and getting used to being a Grizzly?
I think it takes a little time for sure. Even at my old school, a lot of that mental health and training kind of comes into play, where a lot of schools are taking that stuff more seriously. I think Sheets does a very good job of preparing us throughout the fall and into the spring and all the way through the spring with those kind of skills that we need for life. But yeah, it's definitely challenging to try to strive to be the best version of yourself every day.
Yep.
But once you figure out what you need to do to become that person, it makes that process a lot easier.
Yeah. And you mentioned being the best version of yourself in the dugout. What does it look like for you to be the best player in the country if you're not on the field?
Best version of myself comes out a lot in that dugout. I mean, it's just feeling that joy for other people and encouraging those other people to go out there and play their best every day and get their get their hits or get their strikeouts, and it's just you look back in that dugout and you got 33 people in there screaming their heads off for you.
Yeah.